This is the iPhone 13 Pro, and being a tech channel, you'd expect me to use the latest and greatest iPhone, but I've had zero desire to upgrade from this phone. I've tried the 14 Pro, 15 Pro, and they do have some big changes like the dynamic island, always on display, USB-C, 48 megapixel camera, and so on. But at its core, nothing has changed from the design to cameras, display, for the most part the performance as well.
There hasn't been a significant feature that's compelling enough to upgrade from this phone. In fact, I hope this video encourages people to hold on to their phones for longer.
And if you're looking to buy the iPhone 13 Pro in 2024, this is the video to watch. There's so many good things about this phone, but I've had one problem and it's not the battery. It all starts when you pick the phone up. I still have mixed feelings with the boxy design. It looks very clean and simple from every angle, but it's uncomfortable to hold on for longer times, especially on bigger phones like this. I made the right choice by getting silver, but oh god, it picked up a lot of scratches. I've been using it caseless and I abused this phone to hell, and nothing has happened. This is pretty strong. Touch wood. It's water resistant, has MagSafe charging, the speakers are great, haptics are solid, the core elements of the phone are top notch, just like the notch. And like every iPhone, the bezels are symmetrical, which I absolutely love. They're not the thinnest, I feel they're a bit chonky compared to 2024 phones, but the notch will bother you a lot more than the bezels.
Face ID is great, it has its own mess ups, but I'm slowly preferring it more than Touch ID. I like the convenience factor a lot. What I hate about the smaller notch is how it cuts down into 18:9 content. I guess it's time to talk about the display.
It's bright, vibrant, very color accurate. It's a joy to watch content on. It's been the only display I can trust to watch HDR content. The brightness is not the best compared to phones in 2024.
But see, this is not bad, it's still very bright.
But the brightness dips down instantly with overheating, which defeats the whole purpose of it being bright. It's the first iPhone with a 120Hz display, and I don't think it's as good as the 120Hz display on the iPad Pro or any other phone. It's smooth, but it doesn't feel like 120Hz sometimes. I know it's adaptive, but I've noticed it be on 120Hz only on a few apps, like X. Twitter. Most of the time it feels like it's on 90Hz. They're doing this for battery life, but you'll see soon they don't need to.
I switched from the iPhone 7 to 13 Pro, and one thing I miss so much is 3D touch.
It was the best feature on iPhones. Now for the most part, haptic touch does the job, especially with iOS 17. It feels as fast as 3D touch, but it's not really 3D touch, and with dynamic island, it makes a lot of sense to bring back 3D touch. But they killed 3D touch for battery life, and honestly, I'm fine with the trade-off.
And the display is great to watch those Dolby Vision videos you shoot with the cameras. Yes, let's talk about the cameras.
You know how impressed I am with the cameras. I've used it as my only camera for 2 years until very recently. I've taken about 7,000 photos with this phone, and it's literally one of the best set of cameras on a phone. The photos are so good, they're rich in contrast, dynamic range is excellent, there is so much detail on the photos even though it's a 12 megapixel sensor. Night mode is still the best I've seen. The camera system is consistent and reliable no matter what. All the 3 cameras are great at photos. ProRAW is a great addition to these phones. I've got some of the best photos with it. Portrait mode is also very good, one of the best on any phones. The front camera is also excellent, consistent skin tone, sharpness. I know I'm raving a lot about the cameras, but there are some cons. The telephoto is noisy at no light, the ultrawide is not the greatest with macro shots, and it blows out HDR sometimes.
Videos are by far the best, better than any 2024 Android phone. And front video is also very good. Still the thing at low light, which is very impressive. I compared the S24 with the iPhone 13 Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro destroyed the S24 somehow. This was the first phone that could shoot ProRes video, and iPhones are still the only phones that shoot uncompressed video. It doesn't make a lot of difference, but good to have, I guess. This was the first iPhone that supported cinematic mode, and it's okay. It's not gonna replace a real camera, but it does the job. They did improve it with the iPhone 14 Pro, which supports 4K 30, but it still looks very fake to me. Overall, as I said, it's an excellent set of cameras. You can't go wrong with it, just like a sub to this channel. We are on the race to hit 100k subs by the end of this year, so make that happen.
The performance on this phone is something that impresses me even to this day. This phone is still very fast, very fluid, everything is super responsive. The A15 Bionic here does the job so well. It has no trouble with having multiple apps in the background. You won't have issues using the new iOS features, everything just works. I've had my older iPhone slow down in 2 or 3 years, but this has no hiccups. It just runs everything you throw at it. You would be missing out on ray tracing games, but that isn't really a con. My only issue with this phone is how much it heats up when you push it, and the moment it starts heating up, everything becomes a laggy mess. Even the screen goes to 60Hz and the brightness gets super dim. This is the first phone I got to use 5G. and so far it's been rock solid. 5G heats up the phone and drains the battery quickly, but the data speeds are super fast and I don't mind the heat. This phone was on constant hotspot during my uni days. My dorm Wi-Fi was a terrible 5 megabytes. As for software updates, I bet this phone will get another 5 years of updates. That's a long stretch, but remember, iPhone 14 has the same chip as the iPhone 13 Pro. So if the iPhone 14 gets long support, so will the iPhone 13 Pro. Now iOS 18 is rumored to get some new AI features and I doubt they would support it on the iPhone 13 Pro. They probably can and will give it some, but not all the features. We still don't know what they're planning to do, so only time will tell. If it's aged well so far, I expect it to age well as time goes on. Older iPhones like the XR still perform well on iOS 17. That's a good sign for longevity. And thankfully, the battery has also aged well. I constantly get 9 to 10 hours of screen on time. If I push it hard, it goes to 5 to 6 hours. But that is still very good. What shocked me is this is a small phone. This phone lasts longer than my old OnePlus 8, which had a bigger battery. It's the best battery life I've had on a phone. Even if they constantly pushed 120Hz, I doubt this battery would have any issues. And my battery health is at 90%. Now I have something to confess. I've got this phone repaired and replaced 3 times under warranty. And I want to take this time to appreciate how good Apple service is. So in December 2022, I got my camera replaced as there was a literal dust spot on the telephoto lens. Apple replaced the whole camera system, but a few months later, Face ID stopped working. Somehow water got into the phone and all my cameras fogged up. Thankfully, my phone didn't trigger the water damage indicators and Apple replaced my whole phone. But in less than a month, I noticed dust particles on all 3 of my cameras. I got the phone replaced again, and in my experience, Apple service is great. Repairs and replacements are done within an hour. They try to do repairs for free for the most part, and the myths that Apple charges you insane amount of money for repairs is false in my case. Although I'm not going to guarantee you're going to get free repairs every single time. Now that camera problem I talked about is back once again. There is some dust in my telephoto, not easy to notice, but it's there. This is that one problem I have with Pro iPhones in general. They all somehow get dust in the telephoto lens. I have no clue why this specifically happens in Pro iPhones and hasn't been fixed yet. If you're under warranty and have a Pro iPhone, go to camera, portrait mode and use a flashlight to see if there's dust. You could get your camera replaced easily. That's about it. This is still a phone you could get in 2024 and be happy with. This phone is still way better than the base iPhone 14 and 15. You lose out nothing with features. Everything from the design to battery are still excellent. Apple made the iPhone 13 Pro way too good. Keep in mind this was an iterative upgrade over the 12 Pro. But the refinements and upgrades are so good that this phone will hold up well even in 2025 or 2026. This is the best phone I've used and I'm going to stick with it till 2025. I don't think the iPhone 16 Pro is going to be exciting to upgrade to. The newer iPhones are great, but it's not really worth spending $1,000 every year to get the newest one. There aren't big upgrades from generation to generation lately. You could get this for $650 or less if you're lucky, and it's gonna be used. But if you're willing to put up with that, this phone's a great option. Like I said in my iPhone XR video, any older flagship is still a way better option than newer mid-range phones. Check this video to find out how I survived with the iPhone 5s in 2024.